Dan Campbell, he loves J-Mo.
Yeah, the guy, they all love. That's the thing. Like, of course they love J-Mo. They drafted the man. He's the only first-round wide receiver they have.
Yeah.
Like, that they drafted, the only one in Brad Holmes' history. He's never taken a first-round wide receiver besides Jameson freaking Williams. They want him to work in being injured and, the gambling stuff and just never really, not with Josh Reynolds there, he's just never had now he gets a full opportunity. Like, hey, you're the wide receiver too. He's earned it, by the way, which matters. All training camp, been consistent, number 2 wide receiver. And then he goes out and gets 100 plus yards from scrimmage, like 140, something like that. Yeah, big play of the game. He had the big touchdown that ended up being the difference.
So, yes. I think that answers the question as far as it doesn't mean he's going to be these type of players. But again, if you need to count on Jameson Williams to be a wide receiver too, like if A.J. Brown goes down for a game, can you rely on Devontae Smith to get you through a game? If Tyreek Hill goes down for a game, can you rely on Jalen Waddle to get you through a game? If Jamar Chase or T. Higgins go down for a game, can you rely on them? I think Jameson Williams proved tonight that you absolutely can. He's a legit wide receiver 2 in the NFL, and he showed you tonight that he can make the plays of a wide receiver 1. Booner says it all the time. I say it all the time. Jeff agrees with it. The ceiling for Jameson Williams is the highest out of any wide receiver in the skill room, or of the wide receiver room. Amon-Ra St. Brown is no doubt the better wide receiver, but there are some things that Amon-Ra St. Brown can't do that Jameson Williams can. Goes back the other way with Amon-Ra St. Brown. When you talk about explosive plays, Jameson Williams is that guy.
Yeah, I'll say this with J-Mo too. Like, you got to think the first year he comes in, he has the torn ACL and he's coming off of an injury, correct? Mm-hmm. And the next year he has the gambling injury and he doesn't get that much time with the team. He always had the skill set. He always had it. We get in the argument with people who try and go at J-Mo, and their thing is, well, he hasn't showed us what he did at Alabama yet. He hasn't showed us what he did at. So let me get this straight real quick, guys. Those people who say that. So he can play, right? He did it at Alabama. Yeah.
Yes.
He has the talent to do it. So what are we talking about? Now it's about going on the field and doing it. And I get the people where they're like, oh, we want to see it. Totally understand that. But that doesn't mean he doesn't have that talent. He can't do it. And I think tonight, I think Dan and these guys were like, hey, this kid's going to come along and he's going to keep coming and he's going. And then he's going to end up being an absolute star in this league.
Shout out Nolan Bianchi put this out, Dan Campbell, on Jameson Williams. He says he showed up. That was a big game. And the best part of it, he didn't even play his best ball. But it also shows the work that he's put in. He keeps taking these steps.
I love that.
For Dan Campbell.
Guys, we've been Jeff.
He's on a mission.
The last 2 training camp practices that we were at and we went to, when we got there and we started watching J-Mo make plays, they weren't just like the plays, like the deep plays that we saw or the trick plays.
No, he was
catching guys or balls in the middle of the field in traffic. He was catching the ball in traffic and then making moves on the sideline. He was doing everything. And that was what we were trying to tell people. And I think we know some people who said, hey, J-Mo's not going to be great. And said, no, listen, we saw him at training camp. We went to 6 practices. This guy was good. Like, all right, if it was 1 practice, I would have been like, maybe 6 practices. This guy was out there and he looked completely different. He looked like Alabama J-Mo again. And if Dan Campbell's like, he didn't even play his best ball, and he just had 130 plus all-purpose yards and a touchdown.
This is a little scary. Like, think about it, because he had the run that we got scared on because he went down after, but it just looked like a stinger. Just he got banged up real quick. He had the mesh route where he kind of wanted to cut it outside, but ended up making. That's a key play where Dan probably he didn't play his best ball. Like, if he just cuts up the field there, he gets more yardage. But the most important thing that happened, and he scored off it, that the Lions were lacking last year, is he stretched the field vertically down the field outside the hashes. He absolutely cooked Tre'Davious White in man-to-man coverage, separated and made a play that ultimately the Lions needed, because without Jameson Williams, we already said it, they don't win this game. If Jameson Williams doesn't step up, like Amon-Ra, I think this was just a fluke game from Amon-Ra, and you needed a wide receiver too. Josh Reynolds, as much as we all liked him in Detroit, Josh Reynolds is not doing what Jameson Williams did for you tonight. Josh Reynolds is not spreading the field like Jameson does. And I just think you could see the effect that Jameson Williams has on a secondary, just how they stress, because later on in the game, when you have Jameson Williams on the field, the safeties are back. Okay, now here comes David Montgomery. We are running the ball every play, but you still have to respect the fact that Jameson Williams is there, because we can pull it back on a play action and air it out over your head. So Jameson Williams, he has to be the offensive MVP if it's not David Montgomery.
Oh, for sure.
You can't say enough good things about him. I mean, he's more of a complete wide receiver than people give him credit for. The route running, I mean, the double move to absolutely put Tre'Davious White on his ass. It was all impressive.